Hey family, welcome and welcome back to my channel. I'm Ami, I'm your Mystic Rugrat, and this is the Amiverse. This is part 5 of the Niggahs Harris breakdown. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more videos like this, and a special welcome to all my new subscribers. Thank you.
Not that I don't want you here.
The Amiverse.
This auto parts store. Who's driving?
Jarvis,
Okay, and where?
passenger seat.
Okay. And you said when you guys are heading back to the shop the second time, that's when you said Jarvis spots someone.
Yes,
Who does he say that he spots?
his niece.
His niece. Okay. And you recognize his niece?
Yes, when I see her, when he pointed her out to me, yes, I recognize her walking across the street.
Okay. And so you guys pull over. Where's she get into the car at?
I believe she getting behind me, so the back seat behind me.
Okay. Does Jarvis say anything to her?
Yeah, she speaks to both of us, and we speak back.
Okay. What does he say to her?
Hi.
Hi. And where do you guys go after you pick up his niece?
Back to the shop.
Okay, and that's at 9,000 Connor?
Yes.
Okay. And what do you guys do when you get back to 9,000 Connor?
He back in. We get out. We proceed to working on the Jaguar. I may have got out the car first with the parts, and he was in the car with her for a second. I got out, started working on the Jaguar.
And does what happens next? What do you guys do?
I believe she get out, get into the front seat, reposition herself to the front seat of his truck. It was colder that day. I believe she started the truck. We started working on the Jaguar, putting the parts back on. It took a little minute. Like I said, it was a difficult job, so it took a while. At some point, I believe his truck ran out of gas, so we had to stop what we were doing to push his truck to the gas pump so he could get some gas.
So you said that she gets out of the car that you guys were in?
Yes. No, we was always in Jarvis' truck.
Okay.
So she gets out the back seat and repositions herself to the front seat, so she can start the cover.
And tell me, what kind of car or what kind of truck does Jarvis drive?
Escalade.
Okay. And what color?
It's pearl white.
In my mind, family, I am thinking Cordell doesn't seem to be giving off any signs that this is out of the ordinary. So to me, this means that Niggahs was up there all the time. Jarvis was around Niggahs all the time. Niggahs was at that shop all the time. For Cordell to know who she is and not to, raise any question or, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is a pattern. This is something that happens on a daily. And furthermore, you cannot tell me if Jarvis and Niggahs were having inappropriate relations at that shop that there was no way of you knowing.
What if you can see, what is his niece doing while you guys are working on the shop, at the shop?
I believe she's on her cell phone, I believe.
Aha. Very interesting how we catch Annette in another lie, and this isn't even Annette's video. The prosecutor, or whoever this young woman is, asked Cordell, what was Naziah doing on February 9th while she was sitting in the car? I don't know, she was probably on her cell phone, I think. Cell phone. But Annette, Naziah's grandmother, said that Naziah didn't have a cell phone. In fact, Naziah only had a tablet. And in fact, Naziah was grounded from that tablet. Naziah was not supposed to have that tablet. So where did the cell phone come from?
Does Jarvis ever take his niece anywhere that, like, while you guys are working at the shop?
No.
No? Okay. Did you ask him if he was going to take her home at all?
I believe I asked him was he gonna drop her off when the truck ran out of gas. We had to push it to the pump. It was just a distraction from work, so I asked was he gonna drop her off. He said no.
And do you finish working? Did you finish working on the Jaguar that day?
Yes.
And what happens after you finish up on the Jaguar?
I called my son grandma and asked her how she was gonna retrieve the vehicle. She said she was gonna tow back. I told her she didn't have to do that. That was just spending extra money. So I asked Jarvis, was it all right if we dropped it off? He said yes. And we started making preparations to do so.
So my next question would be, family, why not take Naziah home at this point? Y'all are about to take this Jaguar, to whom it belongs to after you fixed it. Cool, right? You see the niece, she's coming home from school or she's walking, whatever. And, cool, let's go ahead and take her home, right? She's a young little girl. She's 12, 13 years old. Let's go ahead and take her home. That's what any normal adult would do, right? This would be the time to take Naziah home. Why didn't y'all take her home? Why didn't you question, why is she still lingering around the shop? Hey, you gonna take her home? Which I must add, he does say that later on, but you're not off the hook, Mr. Cordell. You were aware of the relationship. You were aware of the dynamics, her coming up to the shop. You did not question where her mother was. You did not show any ounce of concern. I'm just going off the context of what you're saying out of your mouth.
Do you recall you guys finished the Jaguar and prepared to leave?
Probably around 7:30 or somewhere around there.
When do you guys eventually leave the shop?
Yes.
Okay. And tell me about who all leaves the shop?
Me, Jarvis, and his niece.
Okay. And tell me about the driving arrangements.
Drove my 300 and Jarvis drove the Jaguar.
And where was his niece at?
She was with him in the front seat of the Jaguar.
Now, are you able to recall what his niece looked like that day?
Yes. Faintly, but yes.
Do you remember what kind of clothing she was wearing?
I remember she had her jacket on. Like I said, her coat, it was cold, so I think it was colorful.
Colorful?
Yeah.
Okay.
Family, family, the audio glitches has nothing to do with Omniverse TV. This is the court system. I do apologize.
And Your Honor, may I approach?
Yes.
And Mr. Wright, I'm approaching the People's Proposed Exhibit 2. And I'm going to direct you to the top left corner. Can you tell me, is there anything that you recognize in that?
The jacket in Channel 1.
Okay. And is that a fair and accurate depiction of the jacket that you've seen his niece, Jarvis's niece, wearing that day?
Yes.
And I move for the admission of People's Proposed Exhibit 2.
Any objection? No objection. Will be admitted as People's Exhibit 2.
Thank you. Your Honor, may I approach?
Yes, sir.
And I'm showing you it's marked People's Proposed Exhibit 3. Do you recognize what I just handed you?
Yes.
Thanks. And is that a fair and accurate depiction of Jarvis's niece at 24?
Yes.
Okay. And is that the same niece that went with you to Ypsilanti?
Yes, it did.
Okay. And you're moving for the admission of People's Proposed Exhibit 3?
No objection. Okay, it'll be admitted as People's Exhibit 3.
Thank you. You guys are driving to Ypsilanti. You said you're driving in your 300, and Jarvis is driving the Jaguar with his niece.
Yes.
Okay. About how long did it take you guys to get to Ypsilanti?
It was raining that day, so about.
And when you get to Ypsilanti, what do you do?
We get out, we park the car, get out, we go in. My son's grandma and I believe his auntie was there as well, so they greeted us. They they'd spoken to him before, so they greet him. And then my son, grandma asked who the little girl was.
And did you introduce the little girl?
No,
Okay. Who introduced the little girl?
Jarvis did.
And what did Jarvis introduce her as?
His niece.
And about how long do you guys stay in Ypsilanti?
Not long, maybe 15 minutes or so. My son, auntie had to go get the rest of our money that my grandma didn't have, so she went to the ATM.
What do you guys do when she went to the ATM?
Talking. Talking. She was just telling us about other work she needed to get around her house, etc., so on and so forth.
Okay. And was Mr. Bucks with you the whole time?
Yes.
Okay. So, you guys eventually leave Ypsilanti?
Yes.
Okay. And tell me about the driving arrangements coming or leaving Ypsilanti.
Travis in the front. I believe Niggahs sat behind me.
Sat behind you?
Yes.
Okay. So, and is there any kind of talking or conversation when you guys are driving?
No, I got sounds in my car, so no.
And do you recall about what time you guys, I guess, where do you guys go when you leave Ypsilanti?
Back to 9,000 Connors.
Okay, so far what we know is Jarvis and Cordell saw Naziah walking. They pick her up, they bring her back to the shop at 9,000 O'Connor. After coming back to the shop, Cordell is doing some more minor work inside of the shop. Jarvis spends some time inside of his Suburban, or Tasha's Suburban, we don't know yet. He spends some time with Naziah in there before accompanying Mr. Cordell finishing the work. They end up finishing the Jaguar. They take the Jaguar back to the owner, aka Cordell's people, Cordell's folks. Naziah is with them when they return this Jaguar. Naziah is with them after they leave the house, returning the Jaguar. They return back to the shop. Now, this is where things get fuzzy. Okay, this is where things get tricky. So, pay attention.
Do you recall about what time you guys get back to 9,000 Connor?
Probably around 8:45. I was cutting it close on the tether.
What do you do when you get back to 9,000 Connor?
Opened up the shop door where he left. He left his truck in one of the bays, so we opened up that bay door. Went through the gas station, because that's the way we entered the shop. Went through the gas station, opened the shop, opened one of the bay doors. I went to the back and started splitting the money that we had made for the day.
hold on now. I did not notice this before. Cordell just said that to get into the shop, he has to go through the gas station. Is the shop connected to a gas station? And if not, are they getting the keys from that gas? What is the correlation and connection between their shop and the gas station? The words that just came out of his mouth was that he had to go through the gas station to unlock the shop. Saying all that to say, Naziah went back and forth to that liquor store. Now, this is mentioned in Jarvis's sister's testimony, but while Naziah was inside of that Suburban waiting as they were working on a car or doing whatever they were doing in that shop, Naziah was seen going back and forth to that liquor store, which leads me to think that the people at the liquor store, if they know Jarvis and they know Cordell, they're obviously working with them, then they know who Naziah is. They are familiar with her. Someone needs to go and speak to whoever is running that gas station, that liquor store. They have answers. Trust and believe. They have answers.
And separating the receipts.
So,
Getting this truck.
do you recall where at his truck she got into?
Passengers.
So Cordell says once they return back to the shop, he goes in the office and he starts separating receipts and counting the money down. Jarvis goes to the truck with Naziah for a while, and then he ends up accompanying him in closing down the store.
Is that front passenger, back passenger, or something else?
Front passenger.
And where's your bus at?
Back in the back with me, separating the cash.
When you leave the shop,
No, I left first.
you left first. Okay. So when you leave, who's still at the shop?
Jarvis and me.
Do you see them leave the shop at all?
No.
Okay, now remember, Cordell's on tether. He had to be home at 9 p.m. every single night. He said that they arrived back to the auto shop at 8:45. So they were cutting it close, y'all. They were cutting it very, very close for him to be late. So I can imagine, he darted his ass out of there. So at this point, Cordell's now gone. Let's continue.
Have you seen Jarvis's niece, the one that was with you on the 9th? Have you seen her since January 9th, 2024?
No.
Now I want to talk about the day after that you guys went to Etsy, so January 10th. Do you recall if Mr. Bucks was at work that day?
I don't think he was.
You don't think he was, or you know that he was not at work? Was he or was he not at work, Cordell? You knew the whole day before, but you cannot tell us if this man was or was not at work on January 10th. Keep in mind, y'all, that Jarvis was supposed to turn himself in on January 9th for previous charges. So you don't know where your homeboy is, my nigga. You don't know where your my nigga is? Please.
What makes you think that he wasn't?
3 times, 4 times. No reason for him to call me if he was standing right next.
Cordell says that he thinks that Jarvis was not at the shop because Jarvis indeed called him 3 or 4 times that day. And why would he call him if he was in the shop with him?
So you said that you don't believe he was at work because he would call you, or he called you so often?
He called me. We had a 30-minute conversation on one account, and then we had another conversation about 15 minutes. So,
why is your head wading in the water? Wading in the water, oh children. Why is your head shaking and a breaking and a locking like that? That is signs of I was about to say infidelity, child. That is signs of a liar. That is signs that you're starting to get disgruntled. You're starting to get irritated. That is a stressor response, family. See, now you asking a little too much response, family. Because you already know they're lining you up, Cordell. You already know the following question is going to be along the lines of, what did you guys talk about for 30 minutes? Why did you guys talk for 30 minutes? Why didn't he come into work? Did he speak to you about Niggahs? Is this out of the ordinary for him not to go into work? You're being lined up, hook and sinker.
So, based on the length of those phone calls and the times of them, did that make you believe that Mr. Butts was not the shot seeker?
Right.
Did Jarvis Butts ever mention to you about his niece being missing?
No.
Have you talked to Mr. Butts aside from the call that we played since turning himself in?
No.
And do you know someone, do you know any of Jarvis's siblings?
Yes.
And which sibling do you?
I met his brother and I met his sister.
Okay. Would his sister ever come to the shop?
Sporadically.
Okay. And are there times that you talk to her?
Yes.
Okay. And had you talked to her about Jarvis's niece being missing?
After the police questioned me, I believe she came up there and we.
So Cordell says after the arrest and everything came out, the sister came back up to the shop and Cordell and Jarvis's sister spoke about, you know, the happenings, the incident, the drama, the conviction, the little girl being missing, the whole ordeal.
People's Proposed Exhibit 9. Can you tell me if you recognize that photo?
Yes.
And who is it in that photo?
Jarvis.
Okay. That's Jarvis Butts?
Yes.
Okay. Now I move for the admission of People's Proposed Exhibit 9.
The exhibit as People's Exhibit 9.
Thank you. The next time you see Jarvis Butts after January 9th, 2024, do you see any injuries on him?
No, I don't believe I see any injuries.
Nothing further, Judge.
You said that, I believe, in your testimony that you have known Butts since about 2018, is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. And you said you met at Frank's, the shop that you went at.
That's correct.
And you said you guys worked together at Frank's for about 2 years.
That's correct.
And so that means that in about 2020, you opened up the shop on her? Is that?
No, in 2021, I went to.
It cuts out here briefly, family, but he's explaining in 2021 he did not open the shop with Jarvis because he was in prison.
Came back to the same thing.
At Frank's?
Yes.
And what year was that?
That was 2023.
Okay. And so then how long after you came back were you, the two of you at Frank's together?
Maybe a few months to maybe like the middle of the year. So maybe around either around April. It was still a little cold outside.
Okay. You opened up the shop at 9
Yes, it could have been earlier than that, but yes, around.
Business partners?
Yes.
Did you give them business partners?
Yes.
Okay. You also consider Mr. Butts a friend at that point?
Yes.
As far as the business arrangement, you said it was a 50 split. Did you split it every day at the end of the day? Or?
Every day at the end of the day.
Now back around the beginning of 2024, end of 2023, were you seeing a woman in Clinton Township?
A woman in Clinton Township?
Yes. A friend of a woman named Shannon Harris?
In 24?
Yes.
No.
Or ever?
Yes.
When were you seeing her?
Probably was 2000 and maybe 19 or 20.
So before you went?
Before I went to prison.
Okay. Did you and Mr. Butts ever have a falling out about that?
No.
Now you and Mr. Butts, did you talk about your personal lives?
Sometimes, yes.
You just spent good days at work together, right?
Right.
So presumably it came up.
Of course.
Talk about girlfriends.
Of course.
Did women often come to the shop looking for Mr. Butts?
Like,
Did he talk to you about the very women that he would be seeing? Or juggling, maybe?
that happened.
Okay.
Please don't try to get cute, Cordell. Answer the question yes or no.
Did it sometimes cause drama in the shop?
It happened.
You'll learn quickly that "it happens" is one of his favorite phrases.
Women would come up and confront Mr. Butts,
It happens.
maybe about other women that he was seeing?
It happens.
Did you ever feel like that was affecting the business?
No, thanks.
What about at the business that you owned in Connor?
It didn't happen as much there.
Didn't have as much in Connor?
Right.
Okay.
So what's given Frank's was like the party house. Frank's was that auto shop, just like a lot of those barber shops that once it closed down at night, the strippers come in. Now you're thinking, Ami, what are you talking about? How do you know that? Well, baby, I used to be her. I used to be one of them ladies of the night that would come in and service these men. You know, the men on the oil rigs, the men at the shops, you know, different men of different calibers and places in government and finances, you know, things like that. Business owners that, you know, they run good by day, but at night it's a whole house. That's what that shop was given. So what makes me think that the same nature did not happen at the shop that you and Jarvis owned together?
The Omniverse.
Now, family, let's find out why Jarvis and Cordell fell out in the first place.
I had a friend that was, I guess, talking to or trying to date one of Mr. Butts' daughters. Is that correct?
That happened.
The daughter was 21, 22.
She was somewhere around, not 100% certain, but yeah, around that age, 20, 21, 22.
Hold on, so you mean to tell me Jarvis got kids out here around my age? Jarvis has kids in his 20s? What? Okay, that's new. So Cordell had a friend that was trying to pursue one of Jarvis's daughters, and Jarvis got upset. Okay, let's continue, family.
And that caused an issue for Mr. Butts.
It did.
He got pretty upset with his friend.
It did. I was in prison at the time, so yes, I was involved directly.
Okay. Did you ever hear about an altercation that happened between the two of them?
Some kind of altercation did occur, yes.
Was it your impression that Mr. Butts was pretty protective of her?
Yeah.
Do you know how many children Mr. Butts has?
13?
And you said that some of them would come to the shop.
Yes, that happened.
But at the shop in Connor, you said his sons would come.
His son will come sometimes and stay the day with us.
His daughter.
She'll come sometimes and stay the day with us.
And what's her name? Do you recall?
No, I don't want to misname it.
Okay.
I think it's someone with a J or something like that, though. I'm not 100% certain.
Was she like a teenager?
He had. She come up there sometime, but not really. There was one at 9, 7, 8, 9, somewhere around there.
Okay. And then his niece would also come?
Yes.
Would she come typically with?
When I first met her, yes, that's how I with his daughter. She would always come with his daughter. They would come up there sometime to get air in their tires. Maybe money, you know, just typical kid stuff.
Did he ever, or did the two of you ever have them like doing chores around the shop?
Sometimes. First time I seen her by herself, yes.
And that's because y'all picked her up on Harper?
Yes.
Did Mr. Butt seem surprised that he saw her?
I'm not sure. I couldn't really, you know, I wasn't really paying attention to his expression. He just pointed to me.
And at that time, you only knew her as his niece?
Yes.
You didn't have any idea what her name was at that time?
No.
And in fact, the only way, the reason you learned her name was when you identified that picture that was just shown to you, and the police told you what her name was. Is that fair to say?
That's fair to say.
Mr. Butts and his niece. Did you see any inappropriate behavior or anything that made you raise your eyebrows between the two of them?
No.
What about any of the other times that his niece would have been there in the shop? Behavior that made you question was
I
inappropriate?
say I have.
Now, the three of you were back from Ypsilanti on January 9th. That was your testimony, right?
Yes.
Was there any conversation between Mr. Butts and his niece in the car?
There was no conversation between really nobody. I had the music on.
And I'm going to back up to earlier in the day when the three of you came to the shop the first time after you picked her up from on Harper.
Okay.
You said that she pretty much stayed in Mr. Butts' car the whole time?
Yes.
She said she was on her phone.
Yes.
Did you ever leave the shop at all after that before you guys went to Ypsilanti?
Maybe in the
Not really, just the attached gas station?
yeah, maybe to the gas station. I'm not sure if I actually physically left the building. I'm not sure.
Would it have been for more than like 5 or 10 minutes?
So maybe 10 minutes tops if I had to leave.
You never went out to grab parts at any place that you can recall?
Not that I can recall.
Now, after January 9th, what was the next time you said that you saw Mr. Butts? 10th?
No.
Okay. Do you recall?
I'm never on time.
What time did you come in on the 10th?
Probably about 8:40. I go to the gym, so we open at 8, but I'm never there at 8, so I probably got there maybe 8:49.
Are you the one that opened the shop?
Yes.
Now, you were aware at that time that Mr. Butts was supposed to turn himself in and serve a jail sentence in William County Jail. That's correct?
Yes, I am.
You had to leave the business for a while?
Correct.
Okay. And you actually went to the courthouse on the day he turned himself in to support him? Right?
Yes, I was there.
And he was going to be serving time,
That's correct.
if you know.
That's correct.
Okay. And because you were kind of paying attention to what was happening, you understood that the court date had gotten changed a few times?
Yeah, he told me that it got changed. So I believe he's supposed to get sentenced on the 9th, but I learned that through him. I didn't go to court with him that time, but just when he got sentenced, I went to court with him that time.
Are you familiar with any court dates that he had out in Clinton Township around that time?
He did say he had something going on with his daughter, I believe. I believe it was domestic with his daughter of some sort. So yeah, I was familiar with that, I believe.
Or was he going to court for that? Now you got involved because at some point you became aware that the Detroit police wanted to talk to you. Okay, they actually took you down.
To headquarters.
Okay, and that was the first time on February 13th, is that right?
That was February.
With them again a couple days later.
Yes, I would believe the first time I spoke with him, I was still on tether, so it had to be sometime after I was up. Yeah.
And then you spoke with them again in March, right?
Yes. No, all of our conversations was via person.
And then a couple weeks ago, did you also and the prosecutors?
I don't know if a prosecutor, but yes, I believe she was there.
As far as you can remember?
Yes.
Okay. Now, in February, when you were talking to the police, by that time, had you seen anything on the news or on social media about who you later learned was Mr. Butts? You were interviewed by the police, you didn't know anything about. And at the time that you were talking to the police, while you were on tether, and
Yes, that's correct.
okay. And correct me if I'm wrong, but you had about 3 weeks left on parole at that point.
Not 3 weeks in February.
Yes.
I had 3 weeks left on tether. I got off actual parole in May.
Okay. So the tether was coming off, but you were still going to have to report.
3 more at once.
Okay. And in February, I believe it was the second conversation that you had with a detective, presumably, you and the officer or the detective spoke about the tether, right? Do you recall that?
I believe so, yes.
Because you were concerned every time you would go somewhere, you would be late, you were very
Oh, yeah,
about
yeah.
being home on time.
Right.
And in fact, he actually said, hey, we'll take care of you if anything pops up, right?
He said, I'll talk to your PO, so you're fine.
Okay. And he also kind of warned you that you didn't want to get somebody upset about the way you were answering these questions and have somebody feel some kind of way about you. Do you recall him saying that to you?
This is the first conversation or the second you asked
The
about?
second. Right at the top of the conversation.
I can't really recall every word. I know we was agitated. I was a little agitated. It was a lot going on, so maybe
It's possible that conversation
it's possible.
Did you understand any of his statements while you were talking to him to me that the police wanted you to give answers, and if you didn't answer, that they could mess with your parole or your tether status?
False speculation,
It goes to his state of mind.
but he doesn't know what happened.
It's what he believes might happen and could impact what he said.
Family, I know that the audio is extremely choppy, but basically they're saying that Cordell was told by the police that he needs to watch what he says during the interrogation because his tether could be affected. That's extremely suspicious.
Was it your understanding that if you didn't give certain answers that the police might tether status? Was that a concern of yours?
Really, you know what I mean? Concerned about how he placed his questions upon me, no. So, I mean, more of the concern was my being picked up by the police. Police contact is a violation of parole within itself, so I was violated for the police contact regardless to whatever he was saying. You get what I mean? So it impacted anything at all, actually.
But your parole wasn't actually revoked, right?
No.
Now, we talked a little bit about this a few minutes ago. Mr. Butts was juggling a few different rings during the time you knew him.
Yes.
And it's hard to keep up with all his baby mamas
I mean, it wasn't my job, so yeah.
and babies that weren't mamas.
Right.
Did you get the impression from Mr. Butts that he didn't want these women to know about each other?
Of course.
My name Tasha was one of Mr. Butts' ladies,
Yes.
and that was one of his baby mamas.
Yes. To my belief, yes.
So there was some discussion about a phone call. Butts, while he was at the jail about his phone, right? And after that conversation, Tasha actually came into the shop to get some work done on the car.
Yes, he came to get a oil change in the headlight.
And that's when you went and kind of looked for the phone.
Yes.
Now, you didn't really want Tasha to know that you were looking for the phone, right?
Of course not.
And the reason for that was,
She's gonna wonder why I'm looking for a phone.
And was it your impression that Mr. Butts was afraid it would reveal that talking to other women?
Of course.
Okay, that makes sense why Jarvis wouldn't want Tasha to find the phone. I was under the impression that Tasha possibly had retrieved the phone because she knows the dirty dealings that her man is up to. But okay, Jarvis is a secretive man. He's trying to keep, all these different women away from all the other different women. That makes a lot of sense. My next question is, where did the phone go? Why wasn't Cordell able to retrieve the phone? Did Tasha indeed find the phone before Cordell? You know what I'm saying? Before bringing up the truck to Cordell's shop. That makes a lot of sense. She found that phone. There's no other way. And Jarvis makes a phone call to Tasha in jail as well and tells her to clean out the car. So when she cleaned out the car, is it possible that she found that phone?
And so you're trying to help him keep peace?
Of course.
Thanks.
Did y'all see that sudden eye movement? He is very irritated.
I think the testimony was on the 9th, and correct me if I'm wrong, but there was an issue during the day, Mr. had his Escalade there, is that correct?
Yes.
And he had run out of gas,
Yes.
and he had to get gas. You pushed him to the, or helped push the Escalade to a gas pump.
Yes.
Do you recall leaving with him that night and going and getting gas together?
For his truck, or what we saying? Or for like a gas can?
Well, either one. Did you all leave the shop to, and perhaps you in your vehicle and he in his vehicle and at a gas station
No.
on the night?
No.
You don't remember much of that?
I don't remember that, no.
Okay. That's okay. Thank you.
Can you redirect?
Okay, family, this is the end of Cordell's testimony. Now, I have a lot of thoughts. His testimony put a lot of things into perspective for me. Let me know how his testimony did for you. Did it put a lot of things into perspective for you? Did it answer a lot of questions, kind of going over it again and, really listening to every detail that he's saying? Do you feel like he is at fault? Now, this is just speculation, but do you feel like he possibly was involved with Niggahs, or do you feel as though he was an enabling homeboy? Someone that is not going to snitch, maybe not be for what you're doing, but they're not going to tell on you. They're your right-hand man. That's my nigga. So he kept a lot of things that he was doing on the hush, or maybe Jarvis got reckless. Maybe Jarvis got reckless and stopped, trying to contain or conceal him and Isaiah's relationship around Cordell, because he mentioned her as being a distraction at the workplace. It's given he knew a little something, but I don't think that this man knew exactly in its totality, what was going on. But I do feel like this man is at fault. You are a father. You're an uncle, I'm sure. You are a grown-ass man who knows how grown-ass men should be conducting himself around minors. Okay, the kids come to the shop every now and again. Cool. You met Jarvis's kids. They come around every now and again. That's pretty normal, right? But what about when Naziah, or even Janiyah, Jarvis's daughter, would come, especially at the second shop, you didn't think anything of it. You could... Jarvis was not around you 24/7. So when them little girls was there, I'm pretty sure there was many of times where he was in a room with those little girls that you were not. You were working on a car that he was not. Let me know what y'all think down below, family. But this will conclude part 5, and I will see you on part 6.